Hello, welcome to GoGarrettCounty.com. This is Johnny. You don't usually see me, but I'm the man behind the camera in this video. This episode is about chicken and vegetable stock, how to make it, and its purpose. Here's some stocks that you could buy at the store, which are very unhealthy. I mean, 840 milligrams of sodium, that's 37% of your daily need. Now I'm going to pass the mic over to the man in charge, Chef Scardina.
Hi, I'm Chef Scardina. Welcome to GoGarrettCounty.com. Episode 1, Chicken Fabrication and Stock. Today we're going to show you how to break down a chicken and how to make homemade chicken stock. First, we need to go over a few things. If you do not have a sharp knife, this will not work. Hopefully in later episodes, we will go over knives and knife sharpening. But now, we just want to talk about sharp knife and your station setup. Before you start fabricating a chicken, you need a cutting board with a towel underneath so it doesn't move when you're cutting, hot soapy water. This is Quat sanitizer, but you could use a little bit of bleach, and you have all these things ready, and then we'll move on to the next step. I'm not the only one that's going to show you how to fabricate a chicken today. Our own Brett Canfield, this is his first attempt at breaking down a chicken. Brett, good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just to let you know, this does not sharpen a knife. This is a steel. It keeps your knife sharp. If someone told you this is a knife sharpener, they're wrong. All right, let's get to it. Brett is going to attempt to break down a chicken today. I've walked him through it a few times. He's going to try it, and this is what you need to keep in mind too. Just do the best you can, okay? Don't be poking around at it. Just do it, okay? Be careful with the knife, but just get in there. So grab your chicken, Brent. First, we're gonna go over the parts of the chicken. These are the wings, these are the legs. This part is the breast. If you look at this part, this is the back. So it's more curved here. So this is where we're gonna start. But first you have to look inside, because sometimes they keep the liver and the gizzards in there. And since we are doing a healthy eating show, I don't think showing you how to cook liver and gizzards is probably in our best interest. But we can use the neck for our stock. And I'm going to set this aside. Thank you, Jared. Okay. Are we ready? When you start, if you feel right here, Brent, it's like a cartilage right there and a bone, okay? You're gonna take your knife. Your knife is gonna do the work for you. You're just gonna slowly go like this. Slowly. And let me explain something else. When you do this, if you leave a little bit more meat on the bone, that's okay. It'll be good for the stock. So the first time people do this, they aren't great at it, but that's how you learn. So now as you see it get here, we're gonna keep this wing intact. Okay, and I'm going to cut right through here, and I'm going to cut the skin, okay? And this is a little bit fancier way to do it. All right, so here, we have the chicken breast. And this here is the tenderloin. I like to keep it on, but we'll separate it. How'd you do? How'd Brent do?
I got the breast.
All right, good deal. Let me show everybody this. I might as well. This is a little bit more of an advanced technique, but I think it's good. It's not really hard to do. So this is why I keep this wing on. What I'm going to do is, this is called Frenching, and we're going to take this, and we're going to cut all this meat off right here, and it'll go into the stock pot as well. And I know a lot of people are like, I couldn't do this. Look, a lot of people hunt and they know how to field dress a deer. And if you can do that, you can definitely do this, okay? It's very simple. So we're gonna scrape this. And unfortunately, there will be some snapping and breaking sounds, but that's part of it, okay? So here, and then we're just gonna pop that off. Into the stock pot, okay. So there we have one chicken breast right there. Now, you don't have to do it that way, but in a later episode, we're going to show you a method for cooking this chicken breast with the stock we're going to show you to make, and it's bulletproof. It's a great method, and that'll probably be in around episode 5. Are you ready for the second one? Same thing, except I have it turned around. See, this works so well because my knife is sharp. I'm barely even putting any pressure on this, okay? Up the skin, keep this on. Now, in this case, I'm going to keep this part on, just like that. Now, here, can you pan up on me for a second? This is where it gets a little weird, but bear with me, okay? Brant, how you doing?
I got both breasts.
Jared, can you roll this sleeve up a little bit? Thank you. You're going to put your hands under the thighs, okay? Or maybe your thumbs like this, and you're going to pop. And then a bone will pop out. And a bone will pop out. I know what you're thinking. This is gross, but this is where chicken comes from, and this is how it happens. So now all we do is we take our knife here. This is the back side of the chicken, and you just cut right along through here. And that is the leg and the thigh. Same thing here. Pardon the bell. Is class over? No, we're good. Leg and the thigh. This is what we're going to use for stock. Right into the stock pot we go. Brant, how we doing?
Good.
Good. Okay. I'm going to move this out of the way, and we'll get back to this in another episode. Thank you, Jaron. Now, another thing I should mention is cleanup. Raw chicken, you do not want to cross-contaminate. So here at Southern Garrett High School, the way we do it is you can go ahead and put your that in there, and we'll get back to this. But first, we need to clean our area. So why don't you take this? Next step, water. Low quality water means low quality stock. So if you don't have good drinking water at home, don't bother. Buy the water, it'll be worth it. And you want to make sure the water is cold. So we don't have the best water at Southern Garrett High School. We have a lot of great things at Southern High School. Drinking water. So, why cold water and not hot water? Hot water will want to seal everything in, and what we're trying to do is get all the flavors to come out of these bones. So if you do it gradually, it works a lot better. So we just want enough water to cover and then a little bit more. And next we'll talk about aromatics and something called mirepoix, and we'll talk about what to season your stock with. But first we have to do this. Oops. It's good, perfect. You want to bring this to a boil, and as soon as it starts boiling, you want to turn it down to a simmer. Once again, bring it to a boil and immediately down to a simmer. So you can see here that this has come to a boil. And now we want to turn it down to a simmer. And the reasoning behind that is you don't want to, you want to keep as much liquid as you can. And if it's boiling too much, it'll make your stock cloudy, but also it'll reduce down and you'll have less stock. And now at this point, we're going to skim some of this off here, the impurities, to make it clearer and cleaner.
Here you can see Jaron skimming the fat off the top of the stock. And this is how we keep our raw chicken fresher for longer. One of these vacuum sealing devices will only set you back about $30 on Amazon. It keeps the chicken fresh and prevents it from getting freezer burnt. And here's another important part of chicken stock. mirepoix, and aromatics. Chef will go over this in the next section.
Jaron finished skimming this. Now notice how it's still simmering. It's very important that it's simmering. And now we're going to add something called mirepoix and aromatics, and we'll get into that in a little bit. People are like, why haven't you added that already? Well, it's when you add these things, like Jaron's going to add it in here now. You can just go ahead and put it right in there, Jaron. Just almost dump it in there. It'll be okay. Okay. Wasn't perfect, but you know. So we're going to let this simmer, but it's hard to skim when you have all these things in there. So we get most of the impurities and then we skim it off. Now, mirepoix, traditionally celery, onions, carrot. That's the mirepoix. Aromatics, parsley stems, thyme, peppercorns. I really don't like to add a lot of celery to my chicken stock because it makes everything kind of taste like Thanksgiving to me. I know that sounds strange, and I love Thanksgiving, but I don't want all my food to taste like Thanksgiving. So we try to keep our stock here a little bit more neutral so we can use it for more Mediterranean dishes, Asian dishes, and so on. Next up, vegetable stock. Now, you'd think vegetable stock would be easier to make than chicken stock. Not really. This one doesn't have, I'll explain. Vegetable stock, you can only use certain vegetables because some vegetables will make it bitter. Cruciferous vegetables, big word. Yay for big words. Big words, everybody.
What does cruciferous mean?
Cruciferous means, well, I don't know what it means, but it's cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, or as the French say, chou-fleur. Okay, those things will make it bitter. So what we're going to use we're going to use some leeks. Okay, so first with leeks are grown in sand. They're in the onion family. So you really have to split them in half and wash them. We've already done that. Jaron's going to put these in the ice water right here. And what will happen is the sand in the leeks is at the top, and the leeks will float on the top, and then the sand will go to the bottom. Okay, next up we got some mushroom stems, onions, a lot of carrots, some celery, tomato paste, parsley, thyme, and bay leaves. So a lot of these things are similar to mirepoix, but we need a lot more of them to bring out the flavors in vegetable stock. And I know what somebody's out there is probably saying, I don't like mushrooms. Well, here's an idea. Don't put mushroom stems in there, okay? I mean, you don't have to, but they really do add a lot of flavor. And if you're a vegetarian and you don't eat mushrooms, that's insane. But it's your choice. It's your choice. Okay, so we're going to get over here to the stove and show you how we're going to do this. Next step is we're going to, technically it's not roasting, but you see, I want to make a roasted vegetable stock. I think it has more flavor, roasted vegetables. You can roast them in the oven. I think it's a little bit harder to gauge them. Like some things will brown and burn while the other ones aren't even done yet. So that can make it bitter. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this grapeseed oil, which has a high smoking point, and get this rather hot. And then we have our mushroom stems and everything. We tried to draw off our leeks the best we could. There's a piece of ice. That is not going to work. Because we want this to brown. If there's too much water, it won't, but I think we'll be okay. So we're going to add this. Thank you, Jaron. So we're going to let this go. One thing, and we have whole cloves of garlic in here. I always tell my students, it's like, never burn garlic. If you burn garlic, everything's ruined. It's just going to be a bitter, bitter taste. So now, what else? I think that's celery, please. But we'll hold on to this. And this is some tomato paste, and we'll get into that in a minute. You don't mind holding that. Also, you'll see people saying you can add onion skin to vegetable stock or even garlic clove skin. I totally disagree with that. My rule of thumb is always, would you eat this? Would you enjoy eating this skin? Then why would you put it in here? Just my opinion. So, Now we're going to let this go a little bit longer. And we'll probably have to come back to you. And you got to constantly stir. And we will put a recipe for this. And I think it's important to state too, when we send you a recipe and I say brown this for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and it's brown in 15, then stop, okay? Everybody's stove's different. Everybody, it just depends on the heat of your pan. So common sense is always a beautiful thing when following a recipe. The recipe should really just be a guideline for you. It doesn't have to be exact. So we'll let this go a little bit longer and show you what it's going to look like in a minute. And we'll take it from there. This is starting to caramelize a little bit. Casey's stirring this around. Now we're going to have to be a little bit careful. I like to add tomato paste. It just has a depth to it and a rich flavor. You can add tomatoes, but I think this works pretty good. So we got to get that stirred in there. And we'll add a little bit more oil. This is the part of the show where I yell for Jared. Jared, can you go get a jug of that water from the back, please? And thank you. Yeah. Now, let's put a little bit more. Now, here's where it gets a little strange. Do we add cold water when we have warm vegetables? Probably not the best idea, but fortunately, Jared just brought over some water that's been at room temperature. So we're going to do it this way. So I think it's probably a good rule of thumb to say for stock, never start with hot water. But okay, back up a little bit. So we'll let this go for probably an hour and a half. That's how about the temp that we like for most of our stock. The time for most of our stocks. You see people going longer and longer, but after too long, it's just game's over. We're ready. So we're gonna let this simmer. I guess the points that I would like to highlight is the quality of your water when making stock, because really that is your main ingredient. So we're gonna let this one go, and then we're gonna show you how to strain this and some safety concerns and how to cool it down. And that'll be a little bit later. And I know what you're probably looking at this, especially the chicken stock, going, this is a lot of work. It is and it isn't. I mean, once you get it done, you have chicken for yourself, you have chicken stock. All these things freeze very well. So if you're willing to put in the effort, I think it's worth it. And this will go on even further into meal planning, and we'll show you multiple uses for this stock. Once again, bad stock, bad sauce. Bad stock, bad soup. You need quality stock. There is no sodium in this. And at the beginning of this video, I think you'll see we show how much sodium in some of these store-bought, store-made, in-store stocks and broths. And we'll get into much more detail about that. And if you look at the price of those, and then you look at what it cost us, you'll see you're saving money. So that's about it for now, and then we'll show you how to cool this down. Now this is ready. It's been about an hour and a half, and we're going to strain this. And I always tell my students, you throw away the bones, and you save the liquid. I made a little bit of a mess here. I'm not perfect. And remember, if it's the first time breaking down a chicken, you can pick the meat off the bones. Now we're going to pull some of this out, but now we're going to show you something really fast. I think this was Brett's chicken. Brent's chicken. I'm sorry, Brent, for calling you Brett. And but see, like here, if you have some pieces, we can just pull that off, because we don't want to waste anything. And this is still edible, but You don't say, some people eat the onions and things. I think they've kind of lost their flavor, but if I have time, I like to hold on to the carrots. I just think they taste delicious. So we're going to strain the rest of this out. Very important. We have to show you how to properly cool this down. If you wrap this up and just stuck it in the fridge, covered, it would be in the temperature danger zone. You put it in the fridge, it would take too long to cool off and bacteria could grow. So we need to cool it down as quickly as we can. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to take this and we're going to put this into ice water. Okay. Can you get a whisk, please? Thank you. And then we just stir. Thank you for holding it, Casey. It's funny what a small batch of chicken stock we're making here. But we let this cool down, and then we will come back tomorrow morning, and you will see all the fat will rise to the top. We do have one of those it's not a machine. It's a fat separator where it drains from the bottom so the fat stays. But what we usually do in this situation is we cool it down, wrap it up, and in the morning all the fat rises to the top. And we'll show you that tomorrow. Vegetable stock, same thing. We're going to strain that. Probably won't show you that one. Yeah, we probably will. Do I keep the vegetables in the vegetable stock? I don't. I mean, their work is done, I guess you could say. But what I do like to do is kind of press all the liquid out of the vegetables. And some people are like, well, that makes your stock cloudy, but it also makes your stock delicious. So at this point, this is our vegetable stock. Be careful because it can all come flying out at once. Now, okay, so we'll let that all drain. I would eat these carrots, and I'll push down on this, and then we'll label it and show you what it looks like tomorrow. And remember, no sodium. Thanks. We're back. This is our stock from yesterday that we told you we chilled down. Now we're going to take a look at it. So here's our stock from yesterday. Here's our chicken stock, and here's our vegetable stock. And we're going to unwrap these and show you how to get the fat, remove the fat from the top. You can see here, this is some of the fat that has risen to the top. So all you do is skim it off. Now you don't want the stock, that's precious stuff. And then we get this on here. Now look, you might not get all of it, but we'll get most of it. Okay. So once we get all this fat off, we're going to pour it into containers. All right, stop. So here's our vegetable stock from yesterday. And as you can see here, can you see that right there? There is some fat on the top, but that fat is oil. And there's so little. If you can zoom in one more time. If we give it a little swirl there, you can kind of see there's barely any. There is so little oil on this, I wouldn't even take it out. I don't think it's worth it. So if you look at this chicken stock really quick before we portion it out, you get a look here. It might be hard to tell, but this is actually a little bit more gelatinous than liquid. It's a little bit thicker, and that has to do with the collagen and gelatin in the stock, which is a healthy benefit, which we will go into detail later. Let's portion this stuff out. So, you may be asking yourself, after watching this video, when are we going to learn to cook something? Soon. The next video, we'll be talking about ingredients, flavorings, and seasoning your food. And then we're off to cooking. So before we leave this video, here's the stocks that we made. They're all labeled and ready to go. And we'll freeze them, and when we're ready to use them, we'll use them. See you next week on GoGarrettCounty.com.